Good afternoon and a warm welcome. You're watching Education News Network, and today we're going to be discussing the topic, the need for mental health curriculum in schools. And for that, we have with us a panel of renowned educators who will be joining us in this discussion today. So let's welcome our first panelist of the day. We have Ms. Piyali Shom, the principal of Tattva School, Bengaluru. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for your introduction.
So our next panelist is Dr. Elsa Vika, an educational consultant at Think Tank Educational Services. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We then have Mr. Anandam Das, the principal of the study, L'École International School, Pondicherry. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
And our last panelist is Ms. Vimla Rajpurohit, the principal of Manipal International School, Anantapur. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for being a part of this discussion today. So to discuss our topic, may I please invite Ms. Piyali Shom to share her views on the topic, please.
So let me first thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak as a panelist today. And it's a very pertinent topic that we'll be discussing. See, my hometown just experienced Yash, and over here also, we are going through the second wave of COVID. So what we believe to get today is that, is it bringing the children back to school or to keep education and learning alive? To do that, we also have to see the most important factor, that 24% of the children are only accessing education via the internet. So what we need to build is, this itself is an opportunity, and what we need to build is an emergency roadmap. And to do that, we have to incorporate mental health curriculum, because it is not about adding more to the syllabus. In fact, life skills can hardly be taught by the way of textbooks or examinations. So we need to be very open, interactive. And about mental health, we find that till date, it is always a hush-hush. Nobody wants to speak much about it. Whereas in school, we do give a lot of importance to physical well-being. We talk about health, hygiene, nutrition, sanitation. So the concept of mental health is always kept at the backdrop. And this situation that we are facing today is one in 100 years. So we have to create awareness. We have to do it in a very structured and a deliberate manner. And the only possibility is to hit it home and at the very initial stage. So that is the very first thing that we need to focus on, that is to create awareness and to remove the taboo around mental illness, mental health. We have to sensitize the students that it is not due to a weakness in character. It is not a character flaw, but you need to know the various disorders. You did not go into the specifics, but overall. Second component, I believe what we should incorporate, why we should incorporate is, we should encourage through our curriculum, the students should seek help. The feelings of isolation, hopelessness, that people and especially students are experiencing when they are within the four walls of their house. So we should tell them, we should give them this feeling, that idea of seeking help gives you a strength. It has to be highlighted. Thirdly, and this is perhaps the most important part of the curriculum, is the preventive aspect. Can we take any steps to ensure that students are better able to adopt or cope with the pressures and challenges they face? So the answer to all these perhaps lies in life skill training, that is educating students on enhancing their self and emotional awareness, improving their communication skills such as empathy, assertiveness, thinking critically, taking effective decisions, and coping effectively with stress. So with this positive idea and mindset, we should progress, we should incorporate it, rather than waiting for students to come to us during the time of distress. It is for us to engage them within the controlled classroom environment, whether online or offline, into group interactions, into giving them a perspective of understanding what is mental health. For example, in our school, we do have health, safety, and child protection. So it is all, if you can inbuilt it in your school curriculum, in your school events calendar, if you can throw it in the circle time in the assembly, where children are often encouraged to speak, to get up. So this will take care of the stigma that we often have. So once the stigma goes, once the fear goes, I think we will be able to adopt ourselves to any crisis, because this crisis, my dear all friends, let us accept it is here to stay. It is whether it is the fourth wave or some other calamity we are facing. So disaster management is not only, according to me, dropping food packets. It is to equip our children from the day one. With that, I would like to end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I completely agree with whatever you said, especially with regard to the importance of removing the taboo behind mental illnesses. Thank you. So, Dr. Elsavita, could we hear from you, please?
Yeah. Namaste, everyone. WHO report says that 1 in every 4 children suffer from depression. And the suicide rates in India, when you look at the adolescents, is the highest in the world. What are we actually taking our children to? Education today, I think, is flawed so much that we have lost the meaning, the spirit of education is forgotten. It's not about the pandemic. At any time, any point in time, a child has to be provided holistic education. We talk of a well-rounded personality as the outcome of education. But what are we doing to children today? We are robbing their childhood in the name of education. It's lopsided. Only cognitive education. That is, we only focus on developing their intellect. But what about their heart? What about their emotions? What about their skills? Unfortunately, there is no socio-emotional care given to children. And unfortunately, when we were young, fortunately, we had lots of people at home. We had cousins, we had relatives. We grew up in big families where we could learn from each other. And they're all coping mechanism, all life skills, everything was caught. It was not taught to us. It was not artificial. But today's kids are all loners. They come from isolated single parent families. And most of them have a very, very sad, lifestyle at home, broken families. And the whole world. And let me just ask you one question. What are we preparing our children for? We don't know how uncertain the world is going to be. Today, what we are seeing is at least to a certain extent, manageable. The world may be worst. So it's not just the pandemic that we are going to prepare our children for. We need to make them resilient from within. They should be able to bounce back. For all these things to happen, I would not just say bringing in a curriculum would help. We need awareness. We need training for our teachers and, more importantly, parents. Is there any kind of awareness about this? Again, we bring in a curriculum, a few books added. That's really not going to do anything. That's going to be a cosmetic surgery. I'm not for it. I would first say, let's sensitize people. Let people understand that the math, science, social we study is only till we get a job and maybe a few things in life. But then the life skills we learn, the mental health that we give is going to take care of the child till the end. Our mental health is at flaw. It's not just children who have disorders, depression, anxiety. They're actually giving out a call for help. Unfortunately, we don't understand the language. The school curriculum for mental health should not just be a policy. It should be more of a practical approach to allowing the child to be a child, to understanding the child's world, and to rise up to the level of children. We think we have learned everything and we want to create clones of ourselves. And they are much, much better than us. They are born in such a way that they are one with nature. We, the adults, are corrupt so much that we don't understand the purpose of having come on earth. So I feel the mental health curriculum is a must for every school, and in the right sense and the right spirit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Those were some really valuable inputs. Thanks. Moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Anandam Das. Could you please share your views on the topic, please?
Sure. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, everybody, as my fellow panelists. I think we have to first understand that, in ancient India, during the Vedic age, during the Rig Veda and the Yajur Veda times. Shishyas have chanted prayers and mantras for the well-being, emotional well-being, and to develop their intelligence, what we call medha. And it is just not intelligence to do well in scriptures. It was not that. It was the intelligence to be able to cope up with different situations in life, the various, difficulties, ups and downs in life. So it is not new to our country, I would say. And this has got innate connections even with modern, psychiatry that is there, in the ancient times that was being followed. So at home, we adults are sometimes, unknowingly, we are, propagators of this, this stigma that is attached to, mental illness. If a child is, going through, certain moodiness, chronic depressions, anxiety, we tell our children not to, sort of mingle or talk to that child. Yeah. And even at home, if, something happens with our child, we would tell not to talk about it to anybody. I think this entire stigma that is there, as one of my fellow panelists was saying, if we do not allow children to open up, if they do not go and talk about their, issues with somebody, they spend so many hours in school. And if they're not being able to, open up to somebody, how are we going to recognize that? Because I think we have, literacy, we have numeracy, we have subjects, performances, we want, percentages, tests, exams, awards, prizes, everything seems to be, there. But, to recognize that a child is going through certain difficult moments in his or her own life, and to be able to put in place, I would not say a curriculum, a process, to be able to recognize if a child in my corridor walks in, with a different facial expression, and we don't see him or her happy, somebody must be there to reach out to that child. That child must feel comfortable to be able to come and talk. And often, even in school, I've seen, to visit the counselor's room often is taken as, oh, something is wrong with this child, therefore he's visiting, the counselor's room. So these are things that I think we as educators, we need to, look at this process, and we have to understand that it is the need of the hour, not only during the pandemic time, but it has always been, and it should go on, till, a child actually learns how to be resilient, how to cope up with such situations in life, and, academics, extracurricular activities, they're all in their own place. But when a child, comes up to me and says that I have problems, I want to discuss issues, we need to be good listeners. We need to be empathetic towards them and really spend time, because I think what as teachers, as academicians, we are so much, under pressure of completing syllabus, finishing this and that. We sometimes don't even recognize what's happening, to the child in my class, and especially when I have got such a large number of, students in my class. So I think, there have been, I'm sure, there are attempts at this time, especially now during the pandemic time, to be able to reach out to children. There are so many programs that are happening. There are, counselors coming up in front and to be able to discuss with such issues. There are online helps. It's wonderful. But I hope this just doesn't stop here. After the pandemic, this also should continue. This is just not during this time. And therefore, a curriculum in whatever process it can be. And as, Mrs. Savita was saying, that perhaps, it's not introducing too many books. That doesn't serve the purpose. All right. It is something which needs to be embedded in and incorporated in our timetable, So in our school, we have something called, where our counselors go and address children grade by grade, and we call it enrichment program. We teach children how to be mindful. Mindfulness is the key word now. If we teach our children to introspect, and we discuss about problems. There are so many other problems that when a child is growing up, there are issues with bullying, there are issues with, there are other complex issues, which I think, counselors play a major role in that. And through that, it has to be one of the periods like mathematics, English, science, whatever. We should be able to, incorporate that in the timetable. It is just not, when I have a problem that I visit a counselor. It is not that. I should be able to address. And by doing this, we can, address several issues. And in my school, we try that and we have had very positive results. Thank you so much for giving this.
Equal importance as other subjects is what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Completely
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So our last panelist of the day is Ms. Vimla Rajpurohit. Could be here from you, ma'am.
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank everybody for giving me this opportunity. No doubt, mental health is very important, be it school or home. As ma'am said, Ms. Savita, like rightly said, ma'am, these days, because of nuclear families, we hardly speak to the children. We don't even find time to ask them whether the child is happy or not, right? So it seems to me that nowadays, at least people have finally begun to think about the fact that there are problems not only with physical, but also like mental health, right? So now this question has become more often publicized and more people are beginning to talk about the fact, right? Like similar problems. There is nothing wrong with this because people are talking about it these days. There were days when we used to find, it difficult to talk about our mental health, when we used at times when we used to feel depressed because, we have got used to keeping this mask of always being happy, right? And trust me, if I find two patients, one suffering from cancer and the other one suffering from depression, I would have shown sympathy or empathy towards the person who is suffering from depression, right? So the school environment has a significant impact on the young person's emotional welfare. I must say that. Like for children's well-being, to thrive during the school hours, the teachers need to be confident and they should have the knowledge to nurture these young minds, right? How many of you agree this? The first thing is the teacher should understand the child's mindset, right? Absolutely. We are busy in completing the syllabus. 45 minutes, it's done, right? So we are not bothered whether the child is happy. And yes, why will somebody ask? Because at the end, when we finish our education, the only question everybody asks us, how successful you are. Nobody is asking how happy you are, right? So, apart from this, we must celebrate these days such as, mental health awareness days. And we often got mistaken, like, we suffer from different aches, like, you can say heart attack or, suffering from different traumas and depression. Even in these days, there are kids, 3-year-old child is facing all these problems and no one knows what to ask and nobody's bothered. Parents are busy earning for them, right? Teachers, yes. At times, even we get into these things, as Das sir rightly said, we have counselors who try to ask what concerns they have, which is very important, right? In India, like people are discouraged to seek psychiatrists. Agree? They are like discouraged and nobody believes if a person uses this phrase as depression because a person is smiling all the time, right? So boys especially, they are literally taught, you are a boy, do not cry. This becomes a habit. And you see
about it's all in your mind. There's nothing such as depression. It's just in your mind.
Yes, you're a man. How can you cry? So they carry this as a child. When a male child, he carries the same thing. And, with so much of, you can say anxiety, depression and all these things, do you think that person is same? No, that person changes completely. And they are taught to, be strong. Come on, yeah, you're a mard. Be strong. Yes, they also feel bad. And there should be someone who share all these things with boys, especially. So they go through mental illness with no one because, the world is taught to make us, keep this mask with their emotions. We are all taught this, right? Keep the suitcase out when you enter the school, right? Whatever happens, that's your personal life. Professionally, you have to have a smile. You should be strong. Yes, no doubt it becomes a habit, but still kids, they are very sensitive. As ma'am said, you can see a lot of rate of suicides, especially in the kids. And as ma'am said, pandemic, yes, it's a panic situation for all of us. And trust me, ma'am, we have all learned to live in isolation. When people say 14 days isolation, I don't feel bad because they have learned to live with the mobile phones. Even small child, they use the mobile phones and mentally they get disturbed, but nobody's bothered. Even to make them have food, the parents are giving them the cartoons, mobiles, and they are watching the videos. Agree? Right? So the child is used to all these things. But when it comes to mental health, I think neuroscience will help them a lot. Why can't we inculcate some activities, where we can improve our brain, and where I think we can even conduct some ability tests, mental health ability tests for the kids once in a while. At least you can say monthly once, where you give a situation to a child. For example, you say, child, you have this situation, what will you do? And trust me, each of them will write a different answer. Here you can make it up, whether the child is going to give it up or work on it, whatever concerns or obstacles he come across, right? So apart from this, I want mental health to be, so normalized that people don't have to feel ashamed to talk about it. We should not feel ashamed to talk about it. Yes, I'm sad today, right? And, you can provide them some reliefs for these anxieties and stress by some activities, by giving them some kind of task and creating groups. Yes, school is the best place because kids, they don't judge like we elders do, right? So when they don't judge each other, kids in a playway method, even not telling to the child that you are being judged, whether you are mentally fit or not, right? And parents, yes, they feel very bad when we say that your child is not mentally strong or differently abled. So we as, teacher fraternity or teacher community, we should come together, work hand in hand. And I think we can do wonders. And even during this pandemic, when we teach online, I think some activities, we can make them feel relaxed through art and craft, to different dance forms, music. All these things helps us. Separately, you need not have a class or curriculum for this. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Ms. Vimla, I'll ask you a question first.
Yes, ma'am.
Mental health was earlier an ignored aspect, and now it's come into light because of the pandemic?
No, it's not. It is not because of the pandemic, ma'am. Since years, like almost you can say since 5-6 years, people are talking about it. Because most of us are educated and we don't mind talking about mental health. I told you, be it personal or professional, people are coming to us. They are discussing it with us. And this should be started. As we say, charity begins at home. I think people like parents should talk to the kids first. Instead of the neighbors or relatives or friends, parents should come speak to the kids. And when a child does a mistake, trust me, when a child does a mistake, the parent should first say that this thing, what you have done is wrong and you are not wrong. There the child will once again come to the parent and say that, yes, I have done this mistake, and will not hide anything from the parents, right? So proper guidance is very important, I think, ma'am. Counseling should begin from the parents.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
So, Ms. Piyali, do you think mental health curriculum should be introduced at an early age in schools? And how do you think a school should go about it? Like, what is the right age?
Mental curriculum, according to me, should start 6+. The reason is below 6 years, we need to sensitize the parents first. They are the first teachers. So when we are talking about the new education policy, which is coming in place, we should first understand as educationists that our education is no longer limited to children now. Parents have become a very, very important role player in that. So 6 and below, we should have certain steps, very clear-cut events, event planning. The calendar has to be planned where the parent is part of the curriculum. 6 upwards, yes, a structured pattern has to be kept wherein at least twice a week during assembly time, the brain is fresh. You should start them in the beginning only. And also I believe personally to initiate brain breaks, whether it is online class, offline class. It is not only merely tiffin, 10 minutes snacks break, half an hour, whatever break you are taking, it should be brain breaks. So the brain breaks are the time when give them some puzzles, give them something which exercises them. So you are free. We often do in class that jump for 3 minutes, sit with small children. I guess we have to do it for all children in today's world. They are actually, quarantined literally with that table and desk, some on the floor, some on the sofa. So you need to get up, move, jump, talk, speak, sing if required. Somehow just let go. If possible, shout. Yes, that is all required. and sharing one value per day, if they can work on that. One skill learning. I told my children, even if you learn to make tea, I'm a bad tea drinker. So even that will help. So learn one skill. And I was just reading, I know I'm exceeding 1 minute's time limit, Soul, that is Granny Soul, just now I was reading, wherein there are certain groups in Germany and other places where they are involving the elderly, the granny, to tell a story. And while through that spin a tale, they are driving home a value. So can we not incorporate even them as our teachers? The 50s, the 60s, they are at home. They are free, they are healthy, they are happy. So why not share their happiness with the kids? We should have one period of granny spinner tale. I feel it will change our children. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Dr. Sarita, ma'am, do you think focusing on the mental health of teachers is equally important as that of the kids? Do you think the schools should take the initiatives?
Yes. In fact, that's more important than kids' health, because whatever we do to teachers, it percolates down to children. It's usually the pressure and anxiety a teacher carries into the classroom. The treatment she's meted out at home or in the office definitely has an impact on children. And more importantly, if I don't love myself, I can't love others. If I'm not peaceful within, if I'm not calm within, I can't bring in that outside. See, it's very contagious. Children keep learning, values can never be taught to children. They usually catch it from us. They don't do as we tell them. They do what we do. So, if at all we can have our teachers, my first sincere thought is, we don't have to teach teachers anything else. We only have to allow them to observe children, have eye contact with children, and listen to children. We are all experts in advising, all the time advising children. At your age, I had this problem, I did this, you should not do this. See, these advisors don't help children. In fact, a good teacher is the one who puts the question back to the child and says, if you're facing this, how do you think you can solve this? Every child has the potential to solve one's own problem. A teacher is only a facilitator, is a gardener who only has to create an environment. Our children are much better than us in handling emotions, if and only if we don't thrust upon our ideas and opinions on them. So I feel as long as our teachers are not empowered, our teachers' attitudes are not changed, and I would not blame them because they are also victims of the same system of education. They are doing what they faced in their classrooms to their children. So they can't change much. All that is required is a lot of healthy dialogues between teachers, principals, all the stakeholders of the community need to talk without having the stigma about mental health. I think open conversations can really bring in a lot of clarity and understanding in helping children out. My last cry out is, I feel that children really need to be heard. They're crying out for help in the name of tantrums, the name of depression. Any naughty child is doing that not because he wants to be naughty, but because he has some problem with it and he's not able to express that. So please watch out for children and have an ear to listen to them. And I think mental health of children will automatically start improving. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, Mr. Anandam, should mental health be incorporated into teacher training, in your opinion? How important do you think it is so that teachers understand the issues that children face and, are better towards them?
Yes, it's absolutely necessary. I think, because the teachers spend a lot of time with the students. We as principals, we may be sitting in our office the whole day, but I think what is important is that if they can relate to the children and if they are getting trained into this mental health, how to deal with the different situations, because I think the skills are required, and if those skills are not if the teachers are not equipped with those certain skills, they may not know, and sometimes we as adults also we go through such moments, and if we cannot reconcile with ourselves, if we don't understand our problems, how are we going to solve the problems of the children? So it is very, very important that teachers undergo a training program like this, in whichever format it is, and whichever board can, inculcate that and sort of, encourage teachers to get into that. Otherwise, as schools also, I think, have the responsibility of training their teachers, through in-house trainings or, several forums, to be able to, give them the necessary skills, how to deal with those, the children who have got, certain problems.
Thank you so much, sir. A very big thank you to all the panelists for today.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you very much for having us here.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nitya, and thank you so much.
Nice meeting all of you.
Thanks. Same here.
Same.
Thank you.
And with that, we come to the end of this very insightful discussion on the need for mental health curriculum in schools, where we got a lot of insights from our panelists today. It's a very vast topic, and we could only address a few issues within it and answer a few questions due to time constraints. But in case you have any additional queries, do get in touch with us, and we'll be glad to take them offline. For more such videos, do log on to our website, theENN.com, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. For now, signing off, Nitya.